Listen, I'm just so happy to tell you that I am so happy that I don't have to cry in a basement anymore. Hello and welcome back to the channel and Vlogmas. Today we're going to talk about keeping your deaf friends and family involved during the holidays. The holidays are meant to be a really happy time, but to be honest, for deaf people, it can be a very not so great time, a very stressful time, because of a thing called dinner table syndrome. If you don't know what dinner table syndrome means, basically it's when you're the only deaf person, hello, and you're at the table for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, and whatever holiday, and yes, this also counts if you're like outside during a barbecue, and you're surrounded by hearing people. Not just hearing people, but hearing people that either don't accommodate by refusing to type or like repeat themselves or write, but also hearing people that may not sign. I give all of those options because, again, not all deaf people sign, not all deaf people talk, so you know, we're covering all the bases here. For the last 3 years, when I was actually involved in family events, I had a horrible time every single time. I had to deal with dinner table syndrome with so many people at once, you know, just a lot of times when I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying, can you please write or whatever, but they don't really want to do that, or they look at me funny and kind of chuckle. I just really, really hated being left out of conversation. And without fail, I would always end up in either a bathroom or a basement, and I would start crying to myself, which eventually would turn into me blowing up at someone and getting annoyed because I hated it so much. I hated having to feel obligated to go to events where I felt like I wasn't welcome, because you could tell me, hey, you're welcome to come over, but if you don't include me in one way or another, actions speak louder than words, you know? But now, this last few weeks, I've actually not hated it. I really did not hate it. So I went to my boyfriend's. I'm in a new relationship now, have been for 6 months. So I knew that I was going to have to do this whole thing all over again, right? And the first time is always the most stressful. And then as you go on and on, the longer you are together, if things still don't become accessible, then it just gets sad. Not stressful, just sad. When it came to being there for the first time and meeting them for the first time, I was like, oh God, I don't want to do this. I am so scared. But first time I was there, it wasn't really much because we all had different schedules, and it was just like, hi, bye, okay, that's it. But then I went up there for Halloween because I was having a speaking engagement, and then I was like, hey, I'm just going to go to Jersey before I come back home because it's cheaper. So I did that. And for 2 nights, I hung out with his mother and stepdad, and everything went really well. There were some times when, like, there was moments of forgetfulness, which is fine. Like, I'm not gonna be like, how dare you? We just remind or whatever, and we work things out. It doesn't matter. And then I met his dad and his stepmother for the first time, like, for real. Because we were driving down there, we stayed for about 2 days, and I also met the half-siblings, and never have I ever walked into a home for the first time to be greeted with an iPad that has the Make It Big app and have a message that says, hi, welcome to our home, or something like that. Never! What the heck? I wanted to cry right there and then. I just wanted to, like, fall to the ground on my butt and start sobbing in happy tears. I didn't. I remained calm and collected, but I was like, oh, I'm so happy. So it was great. And then you know what else happened? So when I had dinner with, like, his mom and his stepdad, we were in a restaurant. It was really, really quiet, right? So I didn't want to be like, can you repeat yourself, and practically scream at me? So, you know, they have the app on their phone as well. Write down not only what they were saying to me, but then they would tell me, like, if my boyfriend and his parents were, like, having their own, like, little conversation or whatever real quick, they would give me a general idea of what it was that they were talking about. Word for word, no, but I will more than happy take the gist of the conversation. And then at his dad and his stepmother's, oh God, this was like Christmas fell on me early. Everything was being said into the app because it's also voice to text. So when we were driving somewhere or whatever, when we were just hanging out in the kitchen, when we had dinner and breakfast together, things would go on the phone and to me. And there would be like a whole conversation happening, and his dad would turn on the mic button on the app, and then so when he would be talking to his wife or talking to my boyfriend, you know, it would pick up the conversation. Was it perfect and always word for word exactly? No, but that's the way that voice to text works. It's not 100%. But this was the first time that I was included in such a thing. And it was amazing. And it was the first time that I ever felt comfortable at a family event. I have other reasons to be uncomfortable at family events, but that is completely separate from the whole death thing. But I did not want to cry. Okay, at Thanksgiving, when I went to Thanksgiving, there was one moment when I kind of felt like, but then it worked out alright. It was, you talk about it, you fix it, and then boom. It wasn't that I had to keep repeating myself and ask for the same thing 5 times in a single dinner. And it was like, this is what inclusion feels like? Holy crap! So yeah, you're hearing me talk about Make It Big. Like, what the heck is that? It's an app that used to be called Hey, and then they changed it to Big, and now it's called Make It Big. So I have it in my accessibility. And as you can see, it's not going to focus too well. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to write one word. Hello. So as you can see the text from, like, I don't have to hold it up all the way to the camera for you to see. And then as you write more, so hello, my name is Rikki. It gets a little bit smaller, but you can still read it, right? So it's kind of like notes. A lot of deaf people will use the Notes app on either Android or Apple, but it's so tiny, so you have to like hand your phone over and then you have to like hold it. But this, I can just hold it right here. The person is a couple feet away from me, and they can read it as long as I don't have like a huge message. If I have a long message, then you gotta get closer. But it's a free app, so if you are hearing and you don't know ASL, and you know, if you have like mobility issues in your hands and you can't really write, download it and use it. You don't have to type, you can do voice to text. I use it with my friend James all the time, you know. I used it with Tommy Edison, I'm pretty sure, a couple of times. It's fantastic. When I go to the airport, I use it. At family events, it is perfect. Well, in the sense that it's a great accessibility tool, but if you use voice to text, it's not. But you get where I'm going with this. It is so important to keep your deaf friends and family involved in the holidays if you invite them. Like, I don't understand why people will be like, hey, come over to this, come over, you know, you're the girlfriend, you're the wife, you're the cousin, whatever, but then they just practically ignore them. And even worse, even if they don't ignore them, but they want to talk to them, but then they ignore the accessibility request. It's like, why did you invite me here then? You know, like, I would rather just not come over. I'd rather sit and have my own holiday, you know? But I mean, also, hey, if you want to do pen and paper because you really like writing, I don't see the problem with that either. But if you want a faster, a little more accessible, you know, depending, Make It Big. Not sponsored, completely free app. I've been using it for years. Also, if the person that you invite who is deaf knows ASL, BSL, sign language, it doesn't hurt to learn a little bit. I would never expect people who have just met me to be fluent automatically. And maybe you don't even need to know more than a few words when you first meet me. But eventually, as time goes on, but I mean, if you're like family, if you're like blood-related family, it's always really nice to learn a little bit. Maybe you're not fluent in 2 months. I applaud anybody if that has happened. But just a few things here and there, trust me, it's so good. It's so heartwarming when you see that somebody has learned a little bit, you know? I encourage you to be as accessible as possible. It works well for everyone. And I am pretty stoked to go to Christmas and get some vegan gingerbread cookies and accessibility. Also, I know that there are other apps. People have mentioned other apps like Ava and a couple of different apps for Samsung. Make It Big is not on Android. But The Ava app has never worked for me. The only one that has worked so far is Make It Big. But yeah, if you've got any other apps or whatever that you have used, feel free to leave them down in the comments, especially for Android users. I know that Android users, and my daily driver is an Android right now. We've been looking for something similar, but I haven't been able to find anything that's good that works the same as Big. So yes, here's to a very inclusive and accommodating, accessible holiday experience. As always, I very much appreciate you watching, but before you go, if you haven't, consider being a pledge on Patreon. It's a great way to support your favorite creators' content. From me, you get perks like music playlists, written pieces you won't see anywhere else, and if you pledge high enough, you get pen pal letters. And I will see you later. Bye!